Hey everyone, welcome back. Shoes here, This Irish Life. We are on episode 9, part 2. We've recently just been introduced to the Hill of Ishnok, where the goddess Eru bargained for the fate of the Canal civilization, where she bargained with the Milesians, herself and her two sisters, the Morrigan and the Morrigna. And we're going to have a look at that story to start today. Here it is. So I'm going to read this. So sit back and relax for a couple of minutes. The Lower Goala, which was written in the 11th century AD by Christian monks, purports to be a history of Ireland and the Irish, the Gaels. It tells us that all mankind descended from Adam through the sons of Noah, and that a Scythian king named Phineas Farcid, descendant of Noah's son Japheth, is the forebear of the Gaels. Phineas, a prince of Scythia, is described as one of 72 chieftains who built the Tower of Babel. His son Nel wed Scota, daughter of an Egyptian pharaoh, and they have a son named Gaedel Glas. Gaedel crafts the Gaelic language from the original 72 languages that arose after the confusion of tongues. Gaedel's offspring, the Gaels, leave Egypt at the same time as the Israelites, the Exodus, and settle in Scythia. After some time they leave Scythia and spend 444 years wandering the earth, undergoing a series of trials and tribulations akin to those of the Israelites, who spent 40 years wandering the wilderness. Eventually they reach Hispania by sea and conquer it. There, Gaedel's descendant Breogan founds a city called Brigantia and builds a tower from the top of which his son glimpses Ireland. Brigantia refers to Corunna in modern-day Galicia in Spain, which was then known as Brigantium. And Breogan's tower is likely based on the Tower of Hercules, which was built at Corunna by the Romans. It sails to the island with the group of men. He is welcomed by three kings, MacCool, Macacht, and Magrena. So is that part of the story carrying on? So we're going to first of all have a quick look and just break that first part down a little bit. So it's saying the Lower Goala, which was written in the 11th century by Christian monks, so never mind the writing time, that could be the time that civilization ended. So the Lower Goala, the Irish book where we're getting some of our stories from, this is the creation myth of the Lower Goala. So Adam through Noah and the Scythian king is the forebear of the Gaels. So Phineas Farcid, you'd be looking at, is Phineas Farcid Dalebath? Phineas, a prince of Scythia, is described as one of 72 chieftains who built the Tower of Babel. That's a fair few people involved in the building of the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, which of course is when God decided to destroy a tower which was built because he feared that man would be able to ascend to the heavens and be like the gods, and he destroyed the Tower of Babel because of that. And there's all sorts of stories related to the Tower of Babel. And then he confused the languages so they couldn't communicate anymore, so he confused the tongues. So at this stage we're talking about, this is saying that this guy was involved in the Tower of Babel building. He had a son called Nel. Nel wed Scota, the daughter of an Egyptian pharaoh. and they have a son called Gidel Glass. And Gidel is also linked to the Fir Bolg. You have the Fir Golan, and also I think the Glass is related to a lineage of the Fir Golan, the Fir Donan, and the Fir Bolg. So Gidel, I suppose, and what was I'd said, Galone, Gidel and Galone. I suppose they're close. They're close enough. Gidel, Galone. But he crafts the Celtic language, so Gidel could be Ogma, the Ogma of Irish myth, brother of the Dagda, possibly Dean Cecht as well, like Thoth. So from Egyptian mythology, I'd equate him to Thoth, so a god of healing and magic, and you can bring people back to life. A god of language, a god of knowledge. I would say that Dean Cecht embodies a lot of those characteristics. So that's where the Gaels come from, and they leave Egypt and they settle in Scythia, which is the area where the Fir Bolgs worked as slaves for the Greeks. This is that was the Scythian kingdom over there, over in kind of Turkey, Ukraine, Romania. If I'm not mistaken, that's the area, even down as low as Turkey, like that whole kingdom, Moorish architecture, also all starred out. The whole place is starred out. The whole world is starred. Like they left nothing. It was crystal canal cities everywhere, top to bottom. So they spend some time in Scythia, wandering around for 440 years, have a couple of trials and tribulations like the Israelites, and they reach Hispania by sea and they conquer it. So this whole race of people, the Gaels, his descendant founds a city called Brigantia, and then his son, Eth, Ith, it would be E, glimpses Ireland. So that's E, that's pronounced E. Ifada TH would be E, which would be like Ia, which is Enki. Ia, Iha, Isa in Irish for Jesus, the Irish for Jesus, Isa. Should throw a bit of the old Gaeilge into some of these conversations. I don't draw too many parallels, but some of the names like Gweedle, I'm not sure what Gweedle is, but glass is green. So Gweedle Glass is the name of the man. Gweedle, who is green, something green. Nell isn't an Irish word. So Eth glimpses Ireland from Corunna in modern day Galicia. I don't even know where Galicia is. It's in Spain somewhere. We might look at Galicia in the future one day. Trail the story back to Egypt. You could do probably all the way. So there, in this place, Gweedle's descendant, Breogan, founds the city, and he has a son called Ith. So it's his son. So it's father and the son again. Father and the son. And then Breogan's tower, the Tower of Hercules, that was built at Corunna. Be interested to know where that is. But anyway, Eth, so Eth, or I, or E, Eth we'll call him. I think that's probably easier to understand. Eth. Eth, who is descendant of Gidel Glass, son of Scota, daughter of an Egyptian pharaoh. So who was the Egyptian pharaoh? What pharaoh was he, I wonder, at the time? So anyway, Eth decides he's going to Ireland with a group of men, and he's welcomed by its three kings, McCool, MacAcht and MacRaina. And these are very well known characters to us at this stage. They are the three Tuatha De Danann brothers who rule Ireland, the last remaining, the last Tuatha De Dananns. And they are married. We'll see in a moment. I'll carry on. These three are members of the Tuatha De Danann who ruled Ireland at the time. Evidence suggests that Tuatha De were the pagan gods of Ireland. Eath is then killed by unnamed attackers and his men return to Iberia. The 8 sons of Eath's brother. So the 8 sons. So Eath had a brother and the brother had 8 sons. The 8 sons of Eath's brother. And Mead Espana was Eath's brother. So Eath's brother was Breogan's son as well. So Breogan had 2 sons, Mead Espana and Eath. They lead an invasion force to avenge his death and take Ireland. After they land, they fight against the Tuatha De and make for Tara. So, are we looking at the battles of the past here again? The royal capital. On the way, they are met on the 3 mountains by Ban Bafowla and Eru, the wives of Ireland's 3 kings. They are promised to have been a trio of land. They are believed to have been a trio of land goddesses. Each woman says that the Gaels will have good fortune if they name the land after her. One of the Gaels, Amerigan, promises it shall be so. At Tara, they meet the 3 kings who defend their claim to the joint kinship of the land. They ask that there be a 3-day truce, during which the Gaels must stay a distance of 9 waves from the land. The Gaels agree, but once their ships are 9 waves from Ireland, the Tuatha De conjure up a great wind that prevents them from sailing back to land. However, Amerigan calms the wind by reciting a verse. The surviving ships return to land and the 2 groups agree to divide the island between them. The Gaels take the world above and the Tuatha De take the world below, i.e. the other world, and enter the Seed, which is the mounds, the ancient burial mounds that dot the Irish landscape. Amerigan divides the kinship between Erimon, who rules the northern half of Ireland, and Aber Finn, who rules the southern half. This division of the land was probably invented by the writers to explain and justify the 7th, 8th century division between the royal capitals of Tara and Cashel. The Leabhar Gabhála then traces Ireland's dynasties back to Milesian Gaels, such as Erimon and Eber. Modern scholars, however, believe that these were fictional characters and that the writers were attempting to give the medieval dynasties more legitimacy. So, there's quite a bit there, but this is the backstory of the Milesian invasion of Ireland that we've discussed. And essentially, it's, as we've said, 3 goddesses. We'll break it down there. Look at this. It sails to Ireland, and he's met by the 3 kings. These are the grandsons of the Dagda, as I remember, or the grandsons of Manannán mac Lir, one or the other. Manannán is still around kind of these times. So they kill Eath. It must have been a dark time, what was ever going on with all the killing. But then they were rejuvenating themselves. The 8 sons of Eath's brother lead the force of invasion. On the way, they meet the 3 primary goddesses of Ireland, Ban Bafowla and Eru. So they are met on 3 mountains. So we know from our research that mountains are now large fortresses, fortress, mega wells, mega fortress wells. Mega fortress wells. They are mega fortress wells, is what they are. Mega fortress wells. Mega fortress mining wells. Mega fortress resource wells. That's what they are. They're mega fortress resource wells. They're essentially self-sustaining. They suck the goodness out of the land to power the civilization. from the waters. They use the water to do it. So Banba, Fowler and Eru are up there on their mountains, so they're in their mega fortress wells, mega fortress resource wells, mega MFRWs in the MFRWs. So in the MFRWs, which are these gigantic fortress wells, they're met by the goddesses up. So they're up there, they're still in their mountains. So it's like St. Patrick going to all the mountains. They go to the mountains. The mountains are all the stories. Why are they going to the mountains all the time? Once again, mountains, like, is that the word for them? I mentioned that in one of the videos. Is a mountain actually a mega fort resource well? Star Fort resource well. Mega Star Fort resource well. MS. Mega Star Fort resource well. So that's what I think was happening. And these gods and goddesses, like Nuada lived in his one at Carberry. He had his well, and Lug had his well, and Banba and Fowler and Eru had their wells, and maybe they had multiple wells, they had multiple fortresses where they live. Maybe in Egypt, what we're looking at is the same thing. Maybe they look like that in Ireland as well, except they're all covered in mud. But with just the you can see in Egypt, like Dendera, where it's covered in dirt and it looks like it's carved. They say it's carved, obviously. They say it's carved, but that could very well, I think, it had the same fate of just mud dropped out on top of it. Probably it's a well. It's probably like everywhere is a well, and the well powers the star surrounding it. Do you know? I think it's a good time to just remind ourselves of the stars, because you can forget them pretty quick, you know. There we go. So we're going to look at some of these ones. Is this the which one is this now? So wow lines. Let's just look at it. Let's remind ourselves, and look, this is the landscape. I mean, here you've got your typical fort under the ground, the bog, and it's just the land is rising slightly here. But you've got these lines outside it, and then like this is a river here, with just the straightness, almost like circuit board like. I know they're not perfect, but those lines are those lines speak for themselves. These here, like it's beyond question how many stars there are, and the fact that there are, like, it's just, we have to get our head around the idea that the land was dotted with them. And like this is, once again, like this is what I'm thinking is on top of, like, any of these forts. Like this is a modern day mega fort resource well, mega star fort resource well. This is a modern day one. That is, this one didn't get stuff dumped on it. This one survived. And like, if I come in here, I don't know what's in here, but like, there's a good, like, this is some sort of a cathedral type of building with a big spire on it. I've no doubt that's normal. Is there gravestones in here somewhere? that I just can't see? Is there big concrete boxes in here in this? Like, could we drop into that cathedral? Where is that place? Alba Iulia Apulum. Could I easily copy that? We won't. It'll take too long. Maybe at a different time. But that museum there, not that museum, not that cathedral. And here again, I'd imagine this is a church here in the middle of it. And like this one looks smaller, but like this could all just be flooded. And see here, like this one here now, right? If these were filled in, and this was higher, and this was covered in mud, it would just look like a stepped mountain, you know? I mean, this is what you're seeing dotted along the landscape. You've got like step, 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 and it's kind of like splodge, 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 you know, bog, 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 grass, grass, concrete. And with bits of big walls sticking out, sheer drops and odd sharp shapes everywhere. So like this could easily be, um, this could as easily be buried as it is visible. There's only a couple of feet of dirt between it being buried and visible. And here again, but what you're seeing is just the top. This is the top of it, like, and it got very covered all along here, but the top managed to stay not covered. Did they just dig out the top, and that's why it's still around? They hadn't dug it out. Who knows what way it might be? So it's just good to remind ourselves that this star civilization, it was real. We're considering the limestone that's been used. Like the limestone is the choice building material everywhere, pretty much. Limestone or granite or a variation of such, But I think like the I don't know a whole pile about stone or enough to comment on it, but I do know that in order to make a solid block of something or stone, there is common elements. I can't remember what they are, but I know that like for limestone, like lime, and we use lime in concrete. Um, it's a serious component. But anyway, the limestone. I'm speculating that it could have been more of a crystal type when it was actually made, and that it could be programmed. So crystal, like computers, are all crystal based. Sand is like crystalline. Computers are made from sand and silicone. It's silicone based, so like a crystalline silicone base that can hold memory. So if you imagine that all the walls it had the ability to maybe hold light, they could, it was like, let's say, a load of iPads everywhere, but super strong. Interesting. Is that what it was like? Horrendously strong, like with like force field and all this kind of extra. Um, Not actual like glass iPads, but if you know, like the ability to, it had almost magical properties, and that gave it, it was that made the civilization very different to what we have now. So if you have like water running and control like the current of the water within these canals that are made of this crystalline silicon material that can hold memory, it can light up, it can dim down, maybe it can give out music. Maybe they made some of those statues with this material, and that's why they look so real. Maybe it's kind of like an android type of design, the silicone, they did anything. Maybe they created this silicone and they figured out how to program it to those levels. Just an idea. to consider in this, because I can't see limestone being the choice material, you know. I just can't see it. Why would you, like, imagine this is a massive, like, this could be all white, kind of like crystal, and then it would, like, you turn it on and it would glow and make noises, and it was just like the ultimate, like, this thing, you know, these things were impenetrable in terms of defensive capabilities. I'd say, like, force fields, I'd say the whole thing literally, like, I just, the more I consider it, the more it feels like that's what was going on. So, like here's another mega Starfort resource well, and this could as well be in the middle of Ireland somewhere, except for there'll be more dirt on it, and there'll be more bog, and maybe you can't see anything at the top. I mean, look at the top of this. There's a little like, there's tech on the top of it. I know these photos aren't fantastic resolution, but we don't need the resolution to appreciate the detail that is clear. I mean, look at this thing. This is like something of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that the Krang would have, and imagine it like glowing. Like, and then all of these, and then, like, not just this, but everything, as in the whole thing. Like, these are the canals here, these lines, all the walls. This is all buried stars, just in a different part of the world. This is Portugal. No, it's not Portugal. This is. Where is this one? It's such a cool one, though, isn't it? Wherever it is. Oh, this is Portugal. This is Fort de Nossa Elvas. See it up there? Fort de Nossa Elvas, Portugal. So this is what we're looking at. So when we go to Ishnok, this is what we're looking for. Except maybe this thing at the top is a different design. That's usually, you know, maybe the houses are a bit of a different design. You know, like, is this like a, you know, this could be the top of a hill somewhere. I mean, look at this. Look, this is insane. This is like Ben Bulben. I mean, you know Ben Bulben, the sides of it. Like, if you gave this some weathering and erosion, and you left it, you'd end up with it would just look like melted rock. Dump a load of dirt on it. This cathedral thing. I'd be interested to see, is there any tech in there, any grave what are they called? They're not even called gravestones, are they? There's a better word. Don't like the word grave. What are they called? Celtic crosses, I suppose. Celtic crosses? They are Celtic crosses. Yeah, there's Celtic crosses in places where there's no graves as well. I'll just have them associated with graves for some reason. Right, so I think, like, we made the point there fairly strongly, and, like, it's just that this is, if Ireland, if there was more dirt on this, and Ireland had a climate like this, Ireland mountains, this would just be a mountain. It would be a big hill, you know. We just have so much grass, and this is what we're looking at, Ishnok here. So Ishnok and Downpatrick and all of these places, they've all got little, like, well, not all of them. Many of them are destroyed. Most of them are destroyed, especially the mountains, the ones in the mountains. They're all destroyed. So, like, I think we made the point there. Is there anything else worth looking at along here? We've seen these before, but sometimes it's good to just, like, dip into them. It's more the large ones that interest me now at the moment than the small ones, because is that loading? It is. See, once again, oh, look at this now. This is another, like, this is Haiti. Look at the sharpness of that line there. And this isn't far off the one that we just looked at there a moment ago, but, like, this is another mega Starfort resource well. And like these are like if you look at some cliffs, caves, caves in the cliffs. Like those melted cliffs. God, you could just go into so many different things, couldn't you? Have you seen that? If you haven't, you should check it out. The John Levi does some stuff on it, I think. Conspiracy or Us, I think he's got some stuff on it. Possibly UAP and Martin Liedtke as well. I don't know, can't remember. They've all got similar stuff, and they talk about like mountains that have loads of caves along them. Like even in the Grand Canyon, I think that's like a thing in the Grand Canyon. Um, like if you imagined all of this was weathered and just became like a sheer drop instead, just sheer drop. And all of this was covered in mud and grass. So was this, all deeply covered. You'd say it was just like you would 100% say that is just a mountain. We climb up the mountain. Oh, that's a difficult climb. That part of the mountain there is a difficult climb. It's straight up, a bit's taken out, blown away. It's all eroded, maybe half melted. Whatever. Bits of like weird concrete stuff rolling down the top of it with grass growing on it. But like then you're talking, large hill, mountain with a big, big mega well under it. Oh, excuse me. So, point made. James Fort, another big one. That's the one in Cork, across the way from Charles Fort in Kinsale. This is Karlstedt in Denmark. Outline of Star City 1685. This is Kinsale in 1600s. A lot of mounds here as well. Like we're looking at like now that we know what the mounds are about, we can look at these mounds and be pretty sure that under here is a mega well, under here and here and here, and these are all mega wells. I don't know, are these like troops here? What's going on here? What are these things? What is this? What is this? And what are these? Plenty of rivers like stars, like the star. So these are little wells that were sitting in parts of the stars, obviously. Is this kind of like where I live? I'm sitting kind of on top of a hill like this. And we've got walls everywhere though, and roads that come up it. But this hill could be where I live, and there's walls separating the fields, and they're all split and they're all starred. But what this was it was a well. They were all wells, and basically your family started a well. Everybody had their own well, and like this was probably a family well. The Kinsale Royal Normans, they lived down here in the Star area, and they put their wells here. This was their area to put wells, and they put their wells and their forts here, and this is where they lived, and they had lavish houses, and they had lakes, and they looked out on the lakes, and there was something epic happening in the lakes. There was something epic happening in the seas as well, potentially, which were much lower. Maybe the seas were fully canalled down below. Who knows? What's down below at the sea. Maybe that was all canalled and there was no water up at that level that it is now. So this is Kinsale. All of these mounds, I'd be saying, I must have a look at Kinsale. Actually, now that I think of it, I know Kinsale so well. I've been to it so many times. And it is up and down, epic. Here is a star right here, just as you come over the bridge. I don't know, I'm looking at this trying to make sense. Like, let me just have a look here. So this is when you come into Kinsale. So this is just outside Kinsale, and there is some big mounds, just big hills, big on the hillside. You come into Kinsale, you're coming from Riverstick, I think is the last town. Look at this here. What's going on here? And these are trees. It looks like cannonballs, but I'd say they're not cannonballs. They're small trees. Very unusual. Like these are small trees. They're small trees. You come here, you've got the fort coming into Kinsale. These are the old forts. This is all drowned, of course. These are the canals. These are the old canals. So this is like the Battle of Kinsale. Like that took place. Like was that? Um, like I can't see there being any battles after the flood. I can't see there being any need. I think the floods were the battles, and they were happening, and the wells were popping. One by one, the wells were popping. Like this is 1600s, and we've still got some wells here that haven't popped. The surrounding landscape is almost done and dusted for the most part by the looks of it. If this is to be looked at with any level, like if we're looking at a representation of what was on the ground, which I think there's a possibility that it could have been, like these things had an odd purpose. I know they're covered in dirt and they are the size, but what are these here like? I mean, if that is, what is that? I assumed that they were like men invading, but they're not, are they? I mean, they're kind of triangle shaped. That's puzzling. I'm sure it'll become clear at some stage. Maybe with a better contrast, I might be able to see if they were. But it looks like a gigantic bus or something, doesn't it? Just coming across the land, like it's big. It's as big as mounds, you know. Anyway, lots of time spent there. This is Charles Fort up here. James Fort over here. Another fort here. In fact, in Charles Fort, would you believe there is a graveyard just here? So there's all the tech, all the Celtic crosses and the obelisks just sitting inside of a field over here. I think we've pictures on the Shoes and Doug, the Flood of Starfort mystery playlist, one of the playlists. I think that has the footage on it, one of those videos. All the ships here coming into the bay. This is the center of the star, you'd assume, and it goes up and up actually. And this is on the coast as well, so this is all coastal. This is the sea, this is tidal, this is salt water. Look at that there. These here. Anyway, it's enough of that. It's enough of Kinsale. I think the point has been made. I've made a massive, went way out of where we were. We were talking about the myth, but look, we're back to like we're looking at this map again, and sometimes it can get a bit like, what are we looking at here on this map? But what we see, we go back to the myth. We're here. We're looking at the invasion. Maybe it was this invasion that happened at Kinsale that we just looked at in the 1600s, the Battle of Kinsale. Maybe that was this. Maybe the battles were going on. The wells were popping. Maybe the wells have been popping for a couple of 100 years. Maybe they've been popping for, since they started. But it seems that maybe there was a gradual, they didn't all go together. There seems to be some areas that had fortifications and star shapes, wells, the wells on them. I'm going to have to just keep calling them wells. Star wells. A better name. Can't remember the name. If you can't remember the name, it's not a good name. So, we'll have to wait. Still, the jury's out on the name of those big things. and the smaller ones. So, as it says here, they make a deal with Eru, Banba, and Fowler. And I'm thinking that American comes in, so the invaders come in. At the time, McCool, MacAct, and McGrain are arguing with each other. They've got their own internal problems. These ladies here are the wives of each of these. So Eru, etc. Ban McCool. I don't know who was who, but what it looks like to me is that the invaders came in and they made a deal with one or all of these, whether they're, the Morrigan as one person or they were three people, whatever. They made a deal with them, and these guys dropped all the defenses for these guys. So I'm wondering if you had a crystal canal megalopolis with Starfort megawells all over the place, and you could do what you want. I wonder, could you throw a switch and could you conjure up a great wind that prevents people from arriving into the land? Could you do that with like a crystal, some sort of a macked up defensive, the baddest ass defensive thing you've ever seen, like boom, glowing, ultimate, like it's like wind system on, Tony Stark style. And then what had happened was Eru, Bamba, and Fola had said to American that we'll give you the codes to turn it off. And what happens was, so if that was the case, then American would be able to turn it off, which is exactly what happened. So American calmed the wind by reciting a verse. So he was able to recite a verse of some sort, and that stopped the wind. So I wonder, did that disable the system? Whatever they told him to recite, did it disable the system? And now let us remember the level, like these were the queens of Ireland, or the queen. The queens, I'd imagine. I'm beginning to think there was possibly three of them. But they were all the same person, that kind of way. They split themselves. I'm just wondering about the whole, how many person have the same personality, aware of itself, was around at the same time, like were these the same oversoul, and they continued to split with their children. Anyway, that's a bit off, a bit far off, out of left field there for the moment. But these people would have had access to the codes, and they've been around since the beginning. They are like the mother goddesses of Dalebath and Ernmas, the two progenitors, once again, of the two of the Irish races, of the Firbolgs, two of the Dannans. Well, not Firbolgs outrightly, but we did link the Firbolgs to the two of the Dannan and the Fomorians through the de Lacys and the Normans. They were essentially all Normans. So the goddesses were at the top of the chain, and they could have given the codes. And we hear in the myths, as we've already spoken of the Anunnaki, where Inanna gets the codes for the Mies, or gets the Mies, the tablets of destiny is the other name, actually. They say that the tablets of destiny were held in Tara. There's a story that goes with that. So in the Tara, in the whoever was living in Tara, I can't remember which god lived in Tara or which one they said. We'll find out later on at some stage, or Google it. So the tablets of destiny, so with the controls in there, like I don't know, was Ireland the base for all of this? but there is fierce mythology around it being the base for it. And it all seems to culminate here in Ishnok, because this is where this conversation happened. It's at Ishnok that this happened, as we discussed in the previous in the part one. They met them on the mountains, and the lads agreed to something, and that gave these invaders, the Milesians, the ability to override the storm system that was possibly turned on by the Crystal Canal Megalopolis. But the Megalopolis got creamed and cemented and shat on, for lack of a better word, literally. And the Gaels, or the Milesians, took the world above, and the Tuatha Dé Danann took the world below. So they went into the burial mounds, they went into the mega wells. The gods, the demigods, like, it's only humans left. The giants, they all left. They went into the mega wells, into the inner world, or maybe the other world, which is said to exist in many, many tales. So I reckon there's a vast underground multi-linking system, like under seas and everything, I think, and just going everywhere. Like, I think, like, this star civilization that was here, that was destroyed, was beyond imaginable. It was just like, it's like, imagine crystal everywhere, including a bit of nature thrown in. But like crystal, like even the buildings that we look at now that are limestone, imagine them. There was no mortar in a lot of them. And there's an interesting, like, if you're considering this as a theory, like, you could grow them. Like, I don't think they built them. I think there was some sort of way that you could grow these. Like, it's a natural. Like, there's a bit of magic in it, but like, they knew it was like, the way they had their magical bags with all their fancy tools. Like, Patrick had his bell, and Luke had his spear, the cauldron, the Dagda had his cauldron, and he had his harp. But they had a magical bag almost of these things. But I reckon they had them tiny, Imagine you could have, like, everything tiny, and you could just take it out whenever you wanted. And maybe that's what was going on at the time. I don't know why I was talking about that. But the idea of everybody having their own little special magical tools to access whenever they want them is a common theme of these otherworldly people. And they're all gone, and they went to the underworld, and now they're gone. And then Merrigan divides the kingship between Eramon, who rules the north, Tara, and Cashel. So Cashel is also another mega well, which is worth a look, actually. Cashel is definitely worth a look. If Cashel had a bit more dirt on it, it wouldn't exist. It would be a mountain. It would be a hill. If Cashel had a bit more dirt on it, it would just be a hill, with a Celtic cross popping out of it, dedicated to some war veteran from 1916. In the Billy Goat's Gruff. But the Lower Gawala traces Ireland's dynasties back to the Milesian Gaels. So the dynasties, they link to them, but they would then if they were the invaders. If they were the invaders and they came in, they'd obviously say they were related to them. Because the monks, like, these books, while I have no doubt, like, I'm reading books here that could have, full lies in them, and I no doubt I take it all with a pinch of salt. I understand that the monks, or these books, were doctored, but there's truth in them, and the commonality of the stories reveals the truth. I mean, there's one thing, and anyone who's watching this video, if you're kind of into alternative history and mythology and kind of archaeology and learning yourself, kind of autodidactic learning or being autodidactic, self-taught. That's the other great channel, actually. Check out Autodidactic. He's got some fabulous stuff. If you haven't already. But it's good to consider all of these ideas. So with that, we are going to move along. Like, we had a lot of writing there now. We had a lot of writing. And not many pictures. I'd say I should have put like a nice picture up there while I was talking. Maybe that's what I should do. The Milesians, they were the Gaels. So the other thing to remember is they came from Iberia, Hispania, after spending hundreds of years traveling the earth. Interesting. So here we are at Uisneach, and we're going to take a look down because we've got a mega fort under here. I have no doubt about it. Mega well. So the hill of Uisneach, and it slopes down here. So you can see it sloping, and then it comes to a point over here. So this is the edge, and like this is the top apparently of Uisneach Hill. This is where Eru is buried under a load of dirt. Literally, we've got Mount Temple over there, so we're close to quite close to Athlone, which does have a big cathedral in it. And like we can see, let's see here now, we've got the river running down here. Let that buffer up a small bit. So you can just see that it slopes down here, and it's rather unremarkable, I must say. Let's have a look at some pictures of Uisneach Hill. It'll be slightly more remarkable, I'd say. From here, it just looks like a big hill, but it's a hill that has so much mythology to it. But from the top, it definitely looks, it's like Tara, kind of unassuming. You don't really, they'll go to Uisneach anymore because the world is closed. Nice. Sort out Uisneach here. So we're going to be ending this episode soon, but we're going to try and get a picture or two of Uisneach here, because from the ground or from the sky, I find it rather uninspiring after seeing the stuff on the coast. It's tricky enough to readjust to the subtleness of the shapes in the plains. Like all that grass, it really does cover up everything. people having massive fires up on Ishnock Hill. So we'll just have a couple of look at these pictures. Like, we think we've looked at Ishnock already before. Like here we've got, like, this is odd, isn't it? I don't know what that is. Like, this is some dude carved into a tree. Like, you'd wonder, like, could that be Eru and that be Lug or Dagda? Some beard, savage, serious beard. I don't know what the story is behind them. That looks like it's just carved out of wood. Some fancy wood carver dude. I don't think it's very ancient. But it's all very festival. There's some trees. There's a lot of people hanging around. Festivals. Some cows. Big rock, gigantic rock of some sort. Top of the well, plug. I don't know. Lots of carnivale, lots of pagan rituals going on up here. And then we've got this. So this very much reminds me of getting all the stones dropped in the well. Like, this is like stones dropped. So, like, was there a combination of the wells exploding, maybe fires, maybe water, stones being dropped from above, maybe they dropped the stones into the well to stop them from, to stop them. Maybe that was maybe that's why all these things are there. Maybe they dropped a load of stones because they couldn't stop the wells, and they were just spewing muck everywhere. They had to stop it. Maybe they couldn't turn them off because of the devastation. Everything short circuited, and when the short circuit went, then that was the end. Like, that's quite plausible, actually, that you could have a situation like that where everything just like shuts down, and then when the override, when your tech is gone, the tech is gone. It's gone. The water was out, the wells were open, the whole thing was like devastated. Like, there was no way back. Like, it was built and it worked when it was working. But when this Crystal Canal gigantic well civilization got turned off, it was never turned back on again. It was off for good, you know. This could also be the obliteration of the top of the well, like shattered. A lot of shattering going on in this area. A lot of shattering. So I think that's Ishnock, and we're going to come back at the next episode. We're going to pick up pretty much here. A couple of walls of a wall. That's in the plains, and we're going to stand on top of Ishnock, I think, because I think standing on top of it could yield some interesting insights. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode 2. There's another one coming. I will see you in episode 3. As always, think good thoughts and see you soon.